Hello and welcome everybody to another puzzle challenge video with ChessUniversity.com. This is Ryan Murphy, and as it's the middle of the week, this is our last easy puzzle of this particular week. Then tomorrow we'll be moving on to intermediate difficulty puzzles. So this is intended for an audience of, let's say, players under 1,000. And in the position we have on the screen before us, it's black to play and win material using tactics. It's very early in the opening. And the game this comes from is the game Zhu against Kira from an online tournament played on chess.com. And it was in the Blitz time control. So, as I said, black to play and win material. If you spot the tactic, you can post it on the official website. I'll leave a link in the description so that if you post the solution before we put up our official solution post, you guys can get rewards points on your account at chessuniversity.com. So we're going to quickly, as we always do, rewind to the start of this game. There's not a ton of moves because this is move 8. It's pretty early in the opening, as you can probably tell. But just to see how the game developed to this point. And there was a pretty big rating mismatch, like roughly 1,300 to 2,400, so big rating disparity here. So e4, c5, knight f3, d6, open Sicilian with d4, and usually you'll see at this moment players take on d4, which is the best move, to not allow white to keep the two pawns together in the center. But in this game, black played a tricky move with knight f6, dc5, and there are two options here, I guess, because there's two different things you can take. You can either, you might think like, oh, I can take this pawn on c5, but then a lot of players that are new to chess get worried because then they realize that, oh, my opponent can take my queen, and then after I take back, I can't castle anymore, which is true. This would be really good for white. So you don't want to go ahead and take back on c5 right away. That's not a good decision. You could take on e4. That's possible. And then say pawn takes pawn. You could recapture with probably with the queen or the knight. Knight seems pretty safe. You could also ignore it, knight c6, and if they take here, you could inflict the same sort of agony we were looking at a moment ago on white, where they can't castle anymore. And here you can either take on e7, or you can flick in the in-between knight takes f2, but I think bishop e7 is definitely the safe way to go. So, rewinding, so knight takes e4 is possible, but dc5 should be avoided because of the queen trade and black's king being kind of misplaced. So if we go back, there's another way to take this pawn which doesn't require you to trade queens. And that's what was played in the game. This is a very typical motif that you see a lot when the queen can develop early. And that's the move queen a5 check, attacking both the pawn on c5 and the king. White meets this check with bishop d2, and black captures on c5. White plays knight c3, developing a piece, defending the pawn in the center. Now g6, looking to fianchetto the bishop to g7. Very typical development scheme by black. Black is a bit behind in development, which is typical in the Sicilian, but they're hoping to get the usual. I mean, they already have gotten the two center pawns against one, and hopefully some healthy pressure against the e4 pawn in the long run. So, bishop e3, attacking the queen. Not too sure that this move was that good, because it's not so clear to me how well the queen stands on c5. But now, after queen a5, bishop e2, we reach our key position, where it's black to play and win material. So again, you guys can post on YouTube what you think the answer is, or you can post on our website, which is how you can get rewards points. So check the link in the description for that. Otherwise, I'll see everyone tomorrow when we move on to our intermediate difficulty puzzles. Thanks.